Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Thursday, everybody. Hope your day and your week have been going very well so far. We've got a new day, which of course means a new NBA player prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. We have day 3 of our April NBA Player Prop Ladder Challenge. That's right, guys. We cashed again last night. A really solid performance across the board last night. We got a 2-leg parlay as part of that day 3 ladder challenge, as well as 2 single bets to go ahead and share with you guys in today's NBA slate. But first, before we dive into today's picks, we do have to do a quick little recap of how we did last night. And like I said, guys, another solid performance. We went 2-1 in our single bets last night. Jalen Green, a lot of you guys were talking about him being a bad bet. He did miss very closely. He finished with 28 points, rebounds, assists. The line was obviously needed to get to 32. Close miss, but a miss nonetheless. However, it's A-okay because we did hit those other 2 player props and we cashed our 3-leg parlay plus 196 odds. All 3 legs cashed, baby. So pulling up the results here for our April ladder challenge thus far. As you can see here on the screen, day 1 we went ahead and we won 1.14 units again. I always, when doing a ladder challenge, take that initial unit back and put it back in my pocket so we break even at the end of the day. So using my break even method, we put 1.14 units, the profit from day 1, onto day 2's parlay. And with the winnings from that plus the profit from day 1, we are up 3.37 units of profit going into today's video. So far, you've made your money back and you've made 3.37 units. If you started off with $100, you made that money back and you're up $337 in profit through 2 days of our ladder challenge. Guys, we're not cashing out yet, though. We have a long way to go. Our goal is to make it to Tuesday. Can we cash a plus money parlay 7 consecutive days? That's the goal. We don't have a set money value. Our goal here is, can we cash a parlay 7 consecutive days? We've done it 2 days. We still got 5 days to go. Day 3 today, so we're putting 3.37 units on today's parlay. It's a 2-leg parlay. And yeah, let's see if we can't keep these good times rolling, baby. We're feeling good. We're feeling confident. And we got some more NBA player props to share with you guys. So let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right into today's picks. Jumping right into the outlier screen, guys, we're going to start off today's video with the day 3 ladder challenge parlay. So it's a 2-leg parlay using DraftKings. And for the first leg of our 2-leg parlay, we are targeting the Magic Wizards game, 7 p.m. tip-off. We're going Paolo Banchero of the Orlando Magic over 29.5 points plus assists, which we're getting for minus 225 over on DraftKings. Of course, we are using alternate lines for today's parlay. And being an alternate line, the data is obviously pretty solid. Paolo Banchero has cashed this over in 9 of his last 10 games, averaging 34.4 points plus assists per game over his last 10 games. And the one miss in his most recent game against the San Antonio Spurs on April 1st, he just barely missed it, finishing with 28 points plus assists. Go ahead and stretch that data out to the last 20 games. You have a 70% hit rate over his last 20 games, averaging 33.2 points plus assists per game over his last 20. And then if you go ahead and stretch the data out to the entire season view, not as impressive, but still pretty solid overall. A 53% hit rate on the year for Paolo, averaging 30.49 points plus assists per game overall this season. Now, from a head-to-head standpoint, he's cashed the over in 4 of his last 6 matchups with the Washington Wizards dating back to last season, including 4 of the last 5 to narrow it down a little simpler. 28.5 points plus assists per game average over those last 6 matchups. He's played them 2 times so far this year, back on February 23rd, and the most recent matchup just about 2 weeks ago on March 21st. He's cashed the over in 1 of those 2 matchups so far this year. But I mean, it is a good matchup for Paolo. Obviously, Washington, the worst scoring defense in the NBA, bottom 5 in assists. This is the worst team in the NBA. They literally have the worst record. The tank for Cooper flag has been in effect since day 1. Let's be honest with this Wizards team. And if we narrow it down to defense versus power forwards, 21st in points allowed, 28th in assists. If you narrow it down to the last even 15 or 7 games, the data doesn't change all that much. This is one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA in pretty much every category. Honestly, the biggest risk here is the risk of a blowout and if Paolo plays enough minutes to go ahead and cash the over. Now, the reason why I'm not too concerned about that is Orlando, listen, they're a sub 500 team. They're going to make the play-in. But they haven't won a lot of games in blowout fashion. To be fair, look at this year. They've only played 3 games where they've won by 20 or more points, and one of those actually was against Washington. He didn't cover the over, but that wasn't because of lack of playing time. He just didn't shoot the ball that well and didn't take a ton of shots either. He played almost 30 minutes in that game, so it wasn't really a minutes thing. It was more just he wasn't shooting a ton, and when he was shooting, he wasn't shooting well. But he's cashed the over in 2 of those 3 games when they've won by 20 or more points, and he's averaging 30.67 points plus assists per game over those 3 games. Even when you look at wins by like 16 or more points, 83% hit rate. So I'm not too concerned about the potential for a blowout. They haven't really blown a ton of teams out this year. And even when they have, he has cashed the over pretty consistently in those games. So I do like the spot for Paolo Banchero for the first leg of our 2-leg parlay. And for our second leg of our 2-leg parlay, we are moving on to the Warriors-Lakers game. 10 p.m. tip-off, a massive game with massive implications. And spoiler alert, this isn't the only player prop from this game I'm going to be sharing with you guys in today's video. But our second leg of our parlay here, Luka over 39.5 points plus rebounds plus assists, which we're getting for minus 235 odds over on DraftKings. Look, it's Luka Doncic. You know I've been in love this year with betting Luka props, and lately it hasn't paid off as well as I'd like. But on this alternate line, the data is so solid. 9 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 46.7 points plus rebounds plus assists per game over his last 10 games. Go ahead and stretch the data out to the last 20 games. Look at all that green data there. 16 of his last 20 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 45.55 PRAs per game over his last 20 games. And then you want to go ahead and stretch the data out to the entire season view. He's only played 44 games this year, but it's really solid. A 73% hit rate this year, 32 out of 44 games. He's cashed this over line, averaging 43.91 PRAs per game overall this season. I mean, it is Luka Doncic. We shouldn't be too surprised to see that he's cashing these lines consistently. Again, this is an alternate line, of course, but he's putting up these kind of numbers, averaging almost 44 points, rebounds, assists per game across the season. And from a head-to-head standpoint, the data also very solid. 4 of his last 5 matchups against the Golden State Warriors, he's cashed the over. That's an 80% hit rate, averaging 51.4 points, rebounds, assists per game over those last 5 matchups. He's had some pretty solid performances against the Warriors dating back to last year, including the most recent matchup. Now, again, he was a member of the Dallas Mavericks when he did this, but he has played them twice this year. He's cashed the over both times, and he had a massive performance. 45 points, 11 rebounds, 13 assists the last time they played on December 15th. 69. Pause for applause, people. 69 PRAs in that last matchup. So some really good numbers here against Golden State specifically. We also have the insights provided by Outlier. Luka has exceeded 43.5 PRAs in 13 of his last 15 games in general, averaging 47.1 PRAs per game. And again, that's at 43.5. That's at the normal line. You guys can honestly bet this is a straight bet, and it's pretty solid. At the alternate line, it's 14 of his last 15 games. He's cashed the 39.5 line. So we're playing a little safer, obviously being day 3 of our ladder challenge, having 3.37 units deployed on this player prop. We're playing a little more cautious with the alternate line. But honestly, the single bet version of this, where you add just 4 more PRAs, is still pretty solid overall. So I like this player prop a lot. From a defensive matchup, the the Warriors overall, you know, they rank okay, but if you do narrow it down to the last 7 games, they are bottom half of the league in a lot of these categories. So the overall numbers are okay, but the recent numbers seem to suggest that point guards can have some success. Now, Luka, would you really classify him as a point guard? I don't know. But you have seen over the last week or so, some big point guards have big games. I mean, John Morant, the most recent one, just a couple days ago, his line was 36.5 PRAs. He finished with 45. You want to go down a little bit further. Trae Young, 38.5 PRAs was the line. He cashed it with 40. Even some of their lower tier point guards, the guys like Bruce Brown, Davion Mitchell, they're cashing this over. Jamal Sheed. So, you know, it doesn't really, the further back you go, Emmanuel Quickly, 26.5, he finished with 33. So, seems to be a pretty good matchup. Luka, I guess you'd clarify him as a point guard. He does play a little bit of weird positions, but I do think that he is a good matchup in this spot. So, that's the final leg of our 2-leg parlay. So, just to recap, jumping over to the DraftKings screen here, Luka Doncic over 39.5 points, rebounds, assists, and Paolo Banchero over 29.5 points plus assists. You parlay both together, you get a parlay of plus 105 odds over on DraftKings. So that's our day 3 ladder challenge parlay. We're putting 3.37 units on this plus 105 parlay, and let's see if we can't go ahead and double our money here. So that's our day 3 ladder challenge parlay. I still have 2 more picks to go ahead and share with you guys. If you're still watching this point in today's video, please comment ladder down below. We're on to day 3, guys. Feeling confident, feeling good. We're going to get some positive momentum coming today's video. Let's see if we can't keep this ladder challenge going until next Tuesday and hit our 7-day goal. With that out of the way, again, comment ladder down below if you are still watching. As always, we appreciate those who watch through each and every video. We got 2 single bet player props to close out our video. Let's go ahead and get at them. All right, guys, our first single bet in today's video, we're targeting the Bucks-Sixers game, 7 p.m. tip-off. We're going Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks over 30.5 points. We're getting this one for minus 110 odds over on BetMGM. However, it is available on multiple sports books for varying odds. Now, for this player prop, the recent data is pretty solid. The overall data, not so much. However, this is very much a part of matchup and circumstance painting most of the picture here. For this player prop. Now, the last 10 games, 5 of his last 10, he's cashed the over, averaging 28.8 points per game over his last 10 games. Narrow it down to the last 5, though. He's cashed it in 4 of his last 5 games. That's an 80% hit rate, averaging 32.2 points per game over his last 5 games. And the only miss was on March 28th versus the Knicks. He finished with 30 points in that game. Now, like I said, if you do go ahead and stretch the data out to entire season view, it's not as impressive. A 49% hit rate this year, which actually isn't terrible, but it's not great either. 49%, 31 out of 63 games he's cashed the over, averaging 30.29 points per game this year. I know from a data standpoint and from a betting standpoint, the data is not great, but just can we think about this for a second? And maybe I'm partially biased because I am Greek. I am a Greek. I am a Giannis Antetokounmpo fan. But the fact that in 31 games this year, he scored 31 plus points, I think it's pretty good. I mean, almost half of the time he's going to go ahead and score 31 or more points in a game. That's pretty damn good. But anyways, so again, not terrible overall numbers, but not great overall numbers either. And from a head-to-head perspective, it's wishy-washy also. 2 of his last 5 matchups against Philly, he's cashed the over. He is averaging 28.8 points per game across those last 5 matchups with the Sixers. But again, not the best data in the world here. He's played them 2 times this year, back on October 23rd, he had 25 points. In their most recent matchup back on January 19th, he did cash the over with 34 points in that game. Now, a couple things to know here. Obviously, the defensive matchup, Philadelphia. Not a very good defensive team. And obviously now with a lot of their key guys being out, no Embiid, no Paul George, all these things, they're really bad at this point. Bottom 10 defense overall this year in points allowed. I'd clarify Giannis as a power forward / small forward. Now, versus small forwards, they're middle of the road overall. Power forwards, they are the worst defense in the NBA this year. And even if you go ahead and narrow the data down to the last 7-15 games, that doesn't really change. So it is a pretty good defensive matchup here. And also from Giannis' perspective, obviously no Damian Lillard, no Bobby Portis. They're all out for today's game. Still out, I should say. So far this year, when he's played without those 2, he has a 63% hit rate on this over. 5 of 8 games played without Lillard and without Bobby Portis, he's cashed the over. And he's averaging 33.25 points per game without those 2 in the lineup, with a couple very narrow misses. Again, that Knicks miss, March 20th versus the Lakers, he finished with 28 points exactly. But with those guys being out, Giannis has to put the Superman cape on. And like I talked about, I bet this the other day versus Phoenix, he can do it. That's the beauty of this player. That's the beauty of Giannis Antetokounmpo, is the fact that he can throw the Superman cape on and he can put the team on his back if called upon. The biggest risk here, I'm not worried about Philadelphia slowing him down. What I'm worried about here, obviously, is the risk of a blowout. And, will he play enough minutes to go ahead and cash this obviously high line? Now, the reason why I'm not too concerned about it is because of the fact that they do need to win this game. Milwaukee, they're pretty much a safe bet to avoid the play-in and make the playoffs. But I don't think that right now they're the 6th seed. I don't think they want to be there. Look at the playoff path right now. The 1, 2, 3 spot is pretty much clinched in the East. It's going to be Cleveland, Boston, New York. That means Milwaukee right now would have to play New York round 1, which I don't know if they really want to play the Knicks round 1, especially if the Knicks get Brunson back in time. I don't think, without Lillard especially, you want to play New York round 1. I don't know if they're going to catch Indiana in the 4 seed, but they are only a half a game back of Detroit for the 5 seed. And that right now is what they're playing for. Look, in Indiana, they've been playing very well lately. But if I'm the Bucks, I'd much rather play the Pacers in round 1 then play the Knicks in round 1. Because you also look at the path, right? If you do end up, let's say by miracle, this Bucks team that's banged up and injured does beat the Knicks, you probably got Boston waiting for you in round 2, and then eventually Cleveland in round 3, most likely. Again, anything can happen. But I just think you'd rather play Indiana round 1, and if you beat them, you have to play Cleveland round 2. You take your chances with a Cleveland team that doesn't have a ton of playoff experience. That's just me, though. So I do think Milwaukee has something to play for here. Philadelphia obviously doesn't, so that's the big risk. But I think even if he plays, as long as he plays close to 30 minutes, we should be good here. So that's our first single bet in today's slate, Giannis Antetokounmpo over 30.5 points. And then our second single bet in today's video, we're going back to that Warriors-Lakers game, 10 p.m. tip-off. We're going Steph Curry over 30.5 points plus assists, which we're getting for minus 115 odds over on BetMGM. It is available on multiple sports books for varying odds. Look, I obviously bet this their last game out versus Memphis. He had an incredible game, 52 points and 8 assists. Steph Curry, he's a little bit on the older side. He's not as consistently good as he was a couple years ago, but when he turns it on, he's still one of the best in the business. You look at the overall numbers this year, not great. Even the most recent numbers, 4 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over. Overall this year, though, 48%, again, not awful, but not great either. He's still cashing the under the majority of the time compared to the over. This is, of course, though, a high line. He is averaging 30.46 points plus assists per game overall this season, though. The key thing for me to know here, guys, is the head-to-head data. He's cashed this over in 6 of his last 7 matchups against the Lakers. It's an 86% hit rate, and he's averaging 38.14 points plus assists per game across those last 7 matchups. So a lot of good record, a lot of good history and data here versus the Lakers. He's played them 3 times this year. He's cashed the over in 2 of those 3 matchups. The one time he failed to was back on January 25th. He finished with just 13 points and 9 assists in that game. Now, the Lakers overall defensively, they are okay. 11th in points overall, 22nd in assists. Versus point guards, they do rank overall very high on the season. However, if you do go ahead and narrow the data down to the last 7 games, the Lakers are bottom half in the league in defense versus point guard. So it isn't a bad matchup. And I think Steph Curry, I've talked about this before, where there are certain players where I think they can transcend a defense. Even if the Lakers, if you want to look at this number and say, okay, they have the 3rd best defense in the NBA overall this year versus point guards, Steph Curry is the type of point guard that can overcome those defensive numbers, right? Curry, SGA. I'd even put Brunson in that category. Those are 3 guys where I don't really care what the defensive matchup is. I still like them to go ahead and have a big game and cash their line. And just circumstance here, not only the matchup versus the Lakers and the history versus the Lakers, but the circumstance. These are 2 teams with massive playoff implications in this game. Both these teams are very close to these play-in spots, and they're also very close to being a top 3 seed in the Western Conference. So a lot at stake here. The 1 and 2 seed are already locked up basically in the West with the Thunder and the Rockets. But 3 through 9 are all a couple games separated from each other. So these games are massive. Golden State took massive advantage and they beat the Grizzlies their last game out. But this is another massive game. A win for Golden State would be very, very important for their playoff seeding, climbing up that ladder and getting higher and higher in the Western Conference standings. So with all that being said, with the matchup, with the circumstance, with the history, with Curry just coming off a massive game, I like Steph Curry to go ahead and cash this over. Some might call it a sucker line because obviously he had a really big game his last game out. But I just think in circumstances like these, Curry is a good player to go ahead and bet on. So that's our final player prop in today's slate. Guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching one more time. Please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. I apologize, this video is going to be almost 19 minutes long, and I only gave out 4 picks. Yesterday's video was 22 minutes, and I had 8 picks or something. No, that was the day before. Either way, you know what I mean. I'm sorry that this video was a little bit longer, even though I only gave out 4 picks in the video. Just a lot to talk about in today's video. But guys, we'll be back tomorrow with another NBA player prop video. Hopefully, day 4 of our NBA ladder challenge tomorrow. Regardless, we will have a parlay, right? Tomorrow is our Freaky Friday 5-leg parlay. And we do cash today. We will have 2 parlays tomorrow. We'll have our day 4 ladder challenge parlay, as well as our Freaky Friday 5-leg parlay. But win or lose, guys, regardless, we'll be back tomorrow with another NBA video. Until then, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Thursday. Let's go ahead and make some money.